Hey guys, welcome to Hashtag Behind Relationship Goals. I'm Bones.
And I'm Fofo, and we are in Subic.
Again.
We have an exciting episode for you guys because Bonizi collected questions from social media that people have been dying to ask us, and we are ready for them. And in fairness, most of the questions, they were really good, really juicy.
Juicy. Parang lahat loaded question kasi.
Yeah. So this is a loaded episode for the week.
We've been together for 10 years already. And of course, there are a lot of ups to our relationship. There are always happy moments. And this is what's been highlighted through social media. Kaya nga, relationship goals. But since we're behind relationship goals, we want to talk about the realities of relationships. And eto na yung mga juicy na tanong nyo. Sasagutin na namin.
We are gonna take you behind the curtain of hashtag relationship goals.
Okay, so where do we begin, Fofo? Let's
Bonizi,
talk
go
about
for
the
it.
hard things in relationships.
Go, you start.
Okay, first loaded question of the week. Well, hindi man siya loaded question. Can I start it off a little bit easier?
Yeah, go for it. We should tell them about all the reasons of why we are physically together and why we have to remain that way. The first and obvious reason is because we're married.
Duh.
Right? Duh.
Why wouldn't we be staying in the same place, right?
Yeah, but otherwise, we have a couple more reasons. Second is right now, the work that we do it together.
Mm-hmm. We do have some stuff that we do separately, but these are just posts on like Instagram or Facebook. But a lot of it, we do it together.
Yes, a lot of our engagements with clients and brands and even non-brands, they ask us to be together. Our podcast is basically a couple thing, obviously. Mm-hmm. I come out on her screen from time to time. She comes out on my vlog almost all the time. So work-wise, it's kind of a requirement or a necessity for us to be together. And then if you look at another aspect of our work, you look at GMA. Dahil couple na kami, GMA would also like to promote us as a married couple. And that's what happens. We're together once again.
Another factor is a month after we got married or 2 months after we got married, the lockdown happened. So we were together 24/7, with or without work. Wala kaming magagawa, magkasama talaga kami.
Although in fairness, with or without the lockdown, I think that the time that we spent together wouldn't really change that much. Do you agree?
I disagree because I think we're together a lot more now because of the whole situation. But if there wasn't like a pandemic or anything, you would have taping that you would go to on your own. And I would have taping that I would go to on my own. So we were kind of planning for times na, okay, ikaw yung mag-work this period of the year or this time of the year. Tapos in the next quarter, ako pala yung sunod-sunod yung work.
You're right. And when you say that, another situation comes to mind where Bonizi does her girly stuff. Bonizi tends to schedule everything in one day. So hair stuff, nail stuff, grooming stuff all in one day. So I don't see her. So that's my free day as well, alone.
Did we ever go out with our own groups of friends without one another?
Yeah, it's happened. Bonizi has gone out with her friends. So yes, I guess without the pandemic, there would be many more times that we would be alone and not with one another. But that leads up to our first question, which is...
Okay, so you have a yin and a yang of this kind of situation. We do have times where we're together 24/7. Was there ever a time na nagsawa tayo sa isa't isa?
So that's the question.
Yeah.
Nagsawa na ba ako sa'yo?
Or ako sa'yo?
Wow, let me think about this. Do you have an answer to this? I think you do.
Yes,
Go
I do.
for it. Okay, I'll go after. I'll think about it first.
Okay.
I'll let it simmer.
I wouldn't say na nagsawa ako sa'yo. Definitely not. But there were moments where I did not want to like be around you.
Oh, ouch.
I know. It's so sad.
I've never heard this before.
No, it happens when there are moments na, syempre, kung minsan nainis ka sa akin, there are times then I'm like,
Is this the podcast where I'm gonna cry?
No.
Okay,
I don't think you're gonna cry in this episode.
Okay, anyway, go. Explain yourself. I'm curious. I've never heard this.
I would see it as you nagging, but I know you're trying to like push me to do things that I'm supposed to do that I'm not doing. Kunwari, the things that I have to do within the day. Ano ba yung mga to-do list ko na hindi ko naman tinitignan? May to-do list nga ako, ginagawa ko ba? So I would see that before as nagging. And I would be like, why can't I just do things on my own? Why does he have to always like nag me about it? Pero iba rin yung pag-iisip ko noon, Fofo. And this was probably like during the beginning of the lockdown, maybe.
I have many feelings about this. But continue.
Pero ngayon, hindi naman na ganon. I realized what you were doing. You know, you were looking out for me. And eventually, I was like, okay, I need to do the things para hindi niya na ako inag. I need to do my part in this relationship, and as a partner to you in this household, kailangan gawin ko rin yung part ko para hindi mo ako inag. So, I decided to change my perspective on it. Because if I was taking it against you, then it really wouldn't work out. It wouldn't be productive.
Okay. I assume this is like before. And now?
I try to do what I can para, you know, you don't need to look out for me.
No, now in terms of the question.
Oh, in terms of the question.
Nagsawa ka na ba?
No, of course not. My love for you only grows. Wow!
Hey! Are you being serious? Are you taking this seriously?
Yes, I am being serious.
How dare
I am being
you?
serious. I just wanted to put out a cheesy line. Masama ba yun?
Okay.
Minsan lang ako maging cheesy, Popo. Grabe.
Is it my turn? I
thought pa naman I was joking. I was really...
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think my answer is? Like, in your heart, do you think nagsawa na ako sa'yo ever?
I think there was a moment where you could have reached that point.
Well, before I get to my answer, I want to react to yours. Nagsawa ako sa pagnanag sa'yo. Do you think I wanted to do that?
No, of course not. I know you didn't want to nag. I know you don't like doing that because, syempre, you do your part and I have my own things that I need to do.
Yeah.
And if I don't do that or if you don't do that, edi parang walang bisa naman yung teamwork natin.
Yeah, I think for the longtime followers of the podcast, there were times when I would always remind Bonizi of her responsibilities. But because of her epic procrastination skills, I would have to remind her to the point of me sounding like a nagger. And I hated that. I hated that I had to sound that way just because I was trying to help her. But it's okay. We're past that already. Now, for me to answer the question.
I also hated that you had to reach that point because I didn't want you to have that responsibility.
Okay, we're done. Let me answer the question.
Let's move on.
Okay, so now let me answer the question. Nah, never. It's not my thing. I don't think it's my thing na magsawa. It really hasn't been a quality of mine ever since before. Kahit sa mga games. I mean, dude, I've been playing the same game for like 4 years straight every day and I haven't missed it.
Kahit sa pagkain, hindi nagsasawa si Mikael.
And
he
dude,
can eat
yeah.
chicken and rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day.
I ate dry brown rice and dry chicken breast for almost 8 months straight.
That's all he ate.
And it was fine. I mean, I would like to try other things after 8 months of doing it.
Pero masaya na siya dun.
It generally wasn't a problem for me. So, I know I have that sawa quality. It just doesn't manifest in many things in my life. So, yeah, I'm pretty cool with you, Bonizi.
Okay, follow-up question. Was there ever a time that you didn't want to be around me?
Yes, when you would not take care of yourself. Easy question. I always tell you guys and I always tell Bonizi that my love language is knowing that the person whom I love can take care of herself. And when I see that, then nai-in-love ako. So, during the times that Bonizi would procrastinate, not take care of herself, and not do her responsibilities, that breaks my heart.
Iyak ako dun. Bakit naman di ako iyak sa episode na to
Okay, I like this episode. Bonizi had an amazing outline and amazing questions. So let's keep it rolling.
Okay, can I just switch over? Because there are couples that are together 24/7, but there are also couples that are super busy, na they don't have quality time for each other. And there was one point also when we were working, probably in the latter part of 2020, na super busy tayo, na wala tayong quality time or couple time. So how can we give each other quality time when we're most busy?
You know what, Bonizi? Question before we answer that. Do you have a problem with how we divide our personal time and our couple time together? Right now. It's a yes or no question.
No.
Okay. The reason why I ask that is because to answer this question, I think it would be better to tell the viewers, how do we manage our time right now? Like, what do we do? Because to be honest with you, it was never talked about. There was never any plan for saying, hey, Bonizi, in the morning, it's just me. Do not mind me. Wala tayong ganon. Wala rin tayong, ay, Fofo, at night, mag-uusap tayo sa bed, kwentuhan lang tayo, catch up. We don't have that, right?
No.
Others have that because that's what works for them. A bit of structure would work.
Parang we had this guesting with Joy Spring, and she mentioned that her couple time with Wancho is every week they have a date night, and in that date night
they rate one another,
quote unquote rate one another, and say, okay, in terms of being a partner, you were like 7 out of 10. And why were you 7 out of 10? These were the good and these were the bad. How can you improve as a partner? And that's what works for them.
And that was an amazing way of dealing with it. It was very unique. I've never heard of something
first
like
time
that.
also.
So natuwa ako. But the thing is, it doesn't matter what style you have it, as long as it works for you. For Bonizi and I, it was the unspoken way that we parang fell into this lifestyle. That worked for us eh. So it really depends on the situation. But given that, so what do we do? Like if you were trying to explain what is our style and how do we spend our time individually and as a couple, how would you put it into words?
Our couple time is definitely early in the morning when we wake up and late at night before we sleep. But we don't plan it. Like there's no planning whatsoever. It just happens. We have coffee early in the morning together. And our mornings are mostly silent because 1, we're enjoying our coffee. 2, we're probably still groggy from when we just woke up. And 3, we're both enjoying our games before the day actually starts.
And 4 bad breath. 4 bad breath.
Oh.
Diba, syempre, you just woke up, tapos coffee, then you brush your teeth after the coffee pa. Because, okay, wait. You brush your teeth after the coffee because your coffee's gonna taste so bad if you brush your teeth first.
Water mumog
So,
lang.
coffee muna.
Water mumog and then coffee.
Distance. 6 feet away.
Actually, we're sitting
Social
at
distancing.
both ends of the table. And then after a full day of work, we actually try winding down. Recently, we've been watching TV shows together, or we end up doing our own thing. Last night, Mikael was working on our hard drives and moving files from one hard drive to another, and he was having so much fun doing it. And I was watching a new anime, and we would just check up on each other from time to time. So we actually had couple time in the morning, our own time together, and at night, we had a really cool conversation about some random things that we saw on the news.
Yeah, to generalize what Bonizi just said, because she just described what happened yesterday, there are spontaneous moments when we would naturally get together throughout the day, when we need to work with one another, when we need to ask one another for certain things or for help. And then when we're doing our own things, when we're working on our own stuff or playing our own games, that naturally becomes our individual space. But at any point in time, Bonizi can come over and give me a hug and say hi or make cuento if something happens, and I can do the same vice versa. And that is what works for us. So it's a lot of spontaneity. And if ever there comes a time where the spontaneity becomes too heavy na parang, uy, Bones, sobrang hindi mo na ako pinapansin. Or, hoy, Bones, bakit nakakapit ka sa akin 24/7? Diba? Lumayo ka naman ng konti. I mean, we will discuss it. But so far in our 11 years together, we haven't really reached that point of difficulty na, huy, pag-usapan natin to, we need to put more structure in terms of our individual and couple time.
We inform each other. There it is. We inform each other when we want to do things separately. Like, I'll tell you, like last night, sabi ko, oh, Fofo, I'm just gonna watch this new show, ha? Are you okay there? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. Just do your own thing.
Yeah. I don't even realize. I'm just like, yeah, just go do your thing. You don't even need to tell me. Okay, cool. I like that. I think we answered that question well. That was just question number 1, was it?
2. Well, 1.5.
1.5. Okay, next one. I like
Okay.
this. Let's keep the ball rolling.
This question was asked a lot. Did we ever have a 3rd-year itch, a 7-year itch, a 10-year itch? Because we've been together for 10 years.
Okay, you first.
I think, well, we did discuss this in a past episode. We almost broke up in year 3.
Year 3. That's also what I remember.
We almost broke up, and it was a really intense fight. And it could have been solved easily, but it just got bigger and bigger. And I think that's the only one, really.
Was there any other point where you felt like our relationship was weak, aside from that 3rd-year mark? Kahit one-sided or two-sided, whatever.
Maybe a year or 2 before we got married, I felt like I was losing your trust.
Ah!
Okay, so...
Thank you for the memories.
Trust meaning not because of like infidelity or anything, but I just had to make that clear.
That's true. Okay.
Like there's no cheating has ever happened in this relationship, just to be clear. But trust in the sense na, can he trust me to do my part as his partner?
Can I trust her to take care of herself?
Can he trust me to take care of myself? Because what Mikael told me was, if I can't trust you to take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of me if something happened? Like, how am I going to take care of you if something happens?
How are you going to take care of our family or anything else that needs to be taken care of?
Or even, my mom or my brother or my sister, how can they rely on you if you can't even rely on yourself?
Yeah.
So that was the number one thing that we would always discuss is how can you take care of yourself?
That 3rd-year itch that Bonizi is talking about, that's actually related to that 8th-year problem that you had.
Oh, yeah.
Because that 3rd-year problem was actually one of the issues there. It was a 2-sided issue, but one of the issues was Bonizi taking care of herself. And I think in year 8, we had come to this point in our lives where we both needed to level up. Siyempre, you're growing. As you grow, you have more responsibilities. As you get together, even more responsibilities. So you need to be able to learn how to take care of yourself even better as you grow. And Bonizi came across another crossroads in her life, but she was able to walk over it and on to the next chapter of her life with ease, I would say.
I remember. Okay, so the first issue was to take care of yourself. But the second issue, I believe, from my memory, was don't be a doormat.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Part of it, yeah.
That
just
would go
standing
under,
up for yourself.
That would go under taking care of yourself. So I think to put that into a nicer, flowery words, taking initiative.
Yes.
And having more integrity with what you want. But yeah, so I guess those were the 3rd and 8th year itch. And that was the general issues that were hovering over us during those times.
I have a quick question for you. There has never been infidelity in our relationship.
Okay.
But I wonder, this is a loaded question for you, Fofo. Have you ever thought of being with somebody else other than me?
No, not really.
Really?
Maybe year 1. Only because we wasn't sure if you were a real deal girlfriend at year 1.
Yeah.
I was like, she's kind of cute. But when things
she
got
might be material.
Yeah, when I didn't know if she was if it was gonna be a fling relationship or whatever.
Or puppy love.
Or puppy love. So during those times that I wasn't sure that I actually loved this person and had real feelings towards her, then yeah, okay, fine. You're whatever. You're just very aloof about it. You know this in my personality. I have this ability to kind of zone in and block out everything. So when I realized that, I wanted to focus on our relationship, it was just
Other girls.
Yeah. No. I appreciate the other girls.
I know, I'm just being dramatic.
I'm just saying, romantically,
I appreciate naman with you, Fofo.
Yeah. Now that I've answered that question, Bonizi, your turn.
What's the question?
Have you ever thought about being with another person? Just the thoughts, even.
Oh, if we thought of aside from Bones, who'd I want?
Yeah.
No, never. Oh my gosh. I've never thought about being with somebody else other than you. Okay, now we move on to the questions that we actually got from the listeners and from Instagram. Fofo, medyo heavy tong mga questions. Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Okay. So ano ba dapat gawin kung out of love ka na sa partner mo?
Break!
Napakadaling sabihin, mahirap gawin.
But for me, okay, let's set the situation here.
Okay.
Are we married or not? Is it us?
No, look, kunwari, mag-boyfriend and girlfriend.
Okay,
kunwari tayo. Ganyan.
Kung mag-boyfriend and girlfriend, kung hindi pa tayo kasal, and I fall out of love, then that's it. I mean, for me, I'm assuming that this falling out of love, alam na alam mo na. Hindi yung parang, pagagising mo, ay parang hindi ko na siya love.
Hindi, it's happened.
Ito yung totoo na talaga. Yung totoong parang napag-isipan, nagmuni-muni ka na, and you've really come to this realization that you actually lost that romantic link to your partner. If that happens, then save yourself and your partner a lot of hurt and, just end it. End it in the most proper way possible.
I'm happy to say that I've never, when we were boyfriend and girlfriend, never ako nagka-doubt sa'yo. I never had any moment na parang...
You had no doubt na hindi ka mawawalan ng love or you had no doubt na hindi ako mawawalan ng love sa'yo?
Pareho.
Wow, yabang mo talaga. Yabang talaga ni Bones kahit kailan.
Pero I never doubted our relationship and I never doubted my feelings for you. I think that's also something to keep in mind. Kasi iniisip nila na out of love ka sa partner.
Doubting my feelings for you. I wonder if I ever did that. Parang hindi.
Oo,
Ngayon ko lang narinig yun eh.
Oo, I never doubted my feelings for you. But kunwari, yung mga past, yung mga relationships ko before you, there were moments that I doubted my feelings for an ex that I had before, di ba? Na parang pinag-isipan ko, do I really love this person or is this a relationship that I want to continue? I didn't have that with you.
I guess I'm not much of a doubter of feelings.
Baka secure na secure ka talaga.
Kung ano yung nararamdaman ko, medyo malinaw naman yun sa akin usually. There are some people na, okay, klaro lang, okay, this is what I feel. I like her, I love her.
But
for others, parang, I like her, I love her, tapos ang daming clouds.
May mahirap yung ganon. But yeah, that's how we would deal with that.
So what happens if you fall out of love with someone and girlfriend and boyfriend ka? What would you do if you fell out of love?
Break din.
Ooh? Parang hindi ako naniniwala.
Okay, I would...
Because Bonizi does not necessarily take initiative right away.
I would wait it out to see kung tama ba yung feelings ko. But if tama, then I would break.
Okay, so how would you break it up? You would start and initiate.
Feeling ko mahabang usapan. And then at the end of it, parang break na tayo. As in, ganun. Hassle talaga.
Hassle ka.
Like, lalo na nung bata ako, sobrang hassle ko. Ang dami-dami ko pang sinasabi, yun palang sasabihin mo. Ayoko na.
Okay, here's a juicier question. What happens if you fall out of love while we're married?
Oh, because that has happened to
It
people
happens.
that we
It happens. It happens.
And it happens now. Yeah. That's why older people say you can't just rely on love.
Yeah.
When it comes to marriage.
That's true. Let's assume no kids.
Let's assume we don't have kids.
No kids.
Okay. I have a commitment with you. So for me, I want to stick to my commitment. I want to see bakit ba tayo na out of love sa isa't isa. Like you said, it doesn't just happen overnight. So there must be something na nangyari na sunod-sunod. Kaya yung feelings parang pakonti-konti din nawala.
That's your answer.
I don't have an exact answer to it.
Okay, I do. I have. So let's set the table so that I can properly answer this. So let's say I'm 100% out of love for you already.
Okay.
And let's say that you are...
Wait. Knock on wood.
Let's say that you are on the way, let's say 80% out of love for me, pero alam natin na papuntang 100% na.
Okay.
Diba? Usually that way naman eh, parang hindi naman sabay yung nangyayari. If that happens, and if we talk or if I see that we can both be happier away from one another, then separate. I would say. I say that now. I say that now because there are no kids, because of the situation. I would say na, why would I want to keep you in a relationship where you will ultimately be unhappy when I know very clearly that there is something on the other side of the fence where the grass is greener, where you could be happier, and that could be the same for me.
Yeah,
now, if it is that way, it is very mutual, it is very clear, then you do what has to be done to make the two individuals happy.
What if living separate lives worked out, diba?
Yeah.
I hope that time doesn't come, but if there are situations like that, then you really have to see what are your options. Because I don't think there's like one direction for everything, especially kung kasal na kayo.
Yeah, and of course, we talk about this extremely hypothetically. And I know that, of course, the ideal is always to stay together, especially here in a very Christian and conservative country, a Catholic country. That is tradition, and that is what society tends to dictate. But let us be honest, of all the titos and titas that you and I have and all the friends, there are a very significant percentage who have separated, who have fallen out of love, your parents, diba? So it happens. It really does. It's part of life. And I think having the awareness to take note of that. And if you know that both parties are already extremely unhappy and there's another chance to be happy elsewhere, then I think you should take that only because you only have one life.
Communication is always key in these things, I think. And if you communicate what you both want or need, you'll end up getting to where you need to be.
However, I have a very quick answer to the other hypothetical. If you have kids, then I think the commitment reigns supreme. Yeah. Because you created the responsibility for yourself as a couple, which takes precedence over everything else. At least that's what I have in my mind. Maybe I'm an idealist at this point. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the future.
I mean, we don't know because we don't have kids.
Yeah, but
we don't know the situation.
But for me, the hierarchy of accountability means that if you have kids, then you've put another life ahead of your own and ahead of yourselves as a couple. So that has to reign supreme. So you have to stay committed and figure out how to make it work.
Okay, now we move on to the next loaded question. What if your partner lies again over something that they knew you wouldn't like? Like, kunwari, an example, and I see this always in the Facebook groups. Okay,
I know what you're gonna say. Go.
When people buy, like, for example, our hobby, keyboards. They buy keyboards, tapos sinasabi dun sa seller, uy, lagay mo, nanalo ako sa raffle.
Pero yun pala bilhin niya for 50,000 pesos.
Oo, tinago sa asawa. So, tinago sa asawa, alam naman niya na hindi magugustuhan ng asawa. What would you do if you found out your partner lied to you about something like that again and again and again?
I don't know. This is a hypothetical again. And it's kind of hard because behind relationship goals is all about us telling our stories. So I don't have a story behind this. It's not something that I've experienced with you. I'm not sure what to do. I mean, based on my experience with Bonizi, talking about it and being completely open and honest is the correct thing to do. So I asked Bonizi.
So if you asked me if I had paid for
you deflect.
I don't lie, I deflect. Kaya white lie.
Yeah.
Because I'm not telling you a different situation. I'm just pausing it or putting like a roadblock para I don't actually get to the answer.
Yeah, when I would ask Bonizi questions, she would deflect and try to not directly answer the question.
So I'll say like, oh, I'll check, or I don't know, I have to ask pa, or natanong ko na, I'm just waiting for a reply. I would say things like that before, pero sa totoo lang, hindi ko pa talaga nagagawa yon. How would you feel when you found out that I wasn't telling you the whole truth?
Annoyed because it's so easy and clear to read Bonizi. She's a horrible liar, a horrible deflector. You can just read it on her face. So it's very annoying to me to see that because I'm like, is this girl serious? So it was tough. And that was where the nagging came in, which I hated doing.
So how did we deal with that situation? How did we eventually get over it?
I eventually had to play hardball with you. I was very stern with Bonizi.
You gave me tough love.
Yeah, I gave Bonizi tough love. I told her that if you're not going to take care of yourself, then let's just not be together. And I told her those words.
Yeah.
Because I can't, how can I be with someone, or how can you be with someone who doesn't even take care of themselves?
And this is where the trust issues also came in, because you were like, how can I be with you if I can't trust you with what you're saying to me? Like, how are we going to improve in anything that we do if you're just going to deflect it?
Yeah, so it just goes back around that. So, yeah, a peek into year 3 and year 8 conversations.
Okay, so dahil may instinct ka dun sa pagsisinungaling ko dati, do you think na totoo ang woman's instinct?
No. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that there's a man's instinct and a woman's instinct. So I wouldn't call it that anyway. I would just call it
knowing
chemistry. Somebody
too much.
I think I would just call it chemistry between a couple.
Yeah, like know this person so well na alam mo na parang off yung ginagawa.
Exactly. Bonizi knows my tics. I know Bonizi's tics, her nuances, and when those change, then all of a sudden you feel like
parang may iba.
Yeah.
Parang may something.
Something sounds a bit weird and you start second guessing it. So I think that's where the intuition comes in. Although I do admit that in other relationships of my friends, it does seem like the woman is more observant of nuances than the guy. So maybe that's why it ended up being called woman's intuition. But I think in this relationship, I'm as observant as the woman.
Fofo is probably more observant than any other woman that I know.
Hindi naman.
Fofo, you are very, very observant. From body language to what they say to like, I don't know. It's just,
see you.
Parang you see through people eh. Okay, this is a very interesting question because I also have a very interesting answer to this.
There you go.
When we fight, how do we cool down? Or how do we make lambing to each other?
Honestly, I would cool down automatically if Bonizi just said sorry outright and said she'd be better. I'd be like, okay, I'm good.
I have learned. It's a very interesting insight because when Mikael would parang make jokes at me and I'd get pick on, he'd literally make lambing, like tease me a little bit lovingly and hold on to me and hug me. So akala ko dati, when we were starting out, yun yung love language mo. So whenever you would get mad, that's why before I would be like, fo, and I would hug you. Kasi akala ko ganun din yung receiving mo. So that's why you would get so inis when I would make you lambing. I was like, what am I doing wrong? Akala ko ba ito yung gusto niya? Kasi this is what you do with me. So I read your receiving love language wrong, and I didn't realize that hindi pala ganon. Like, I had to be honest lang and not defer it by making lambing.
Yeah, that lambing stuff, that's just for the shallow stuff.
Akala ko rin kasi para dun sa mga deep stuff din. So,
No.
medyo yung brainwaves ko na
Next question, Bonizi told me that she has an intense answer to this. So the question is, what is the hardest decision we've ever had to make?
As a couple bar, as individuals?
I don't know. I just want to hear your juicy kwento. Well, as a couple, syempre.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. As a couple, parang wala naman.
Wala.
Wala.
And the juicy kwento goes bye-bye. Apparently, Bonizi has no kwento for any of us. Neither do I. Moving on.
Okay, saan ba dapat magsimula para maging kontento? Or where do we start to be content with what
Wait a minute. Let's backtrack. Why is it that we do not have an answer to the hardest decision ever in our lives together? I think that's a good question to answer. Why could we not answer that when typically couples would normally go through these really difficult moments where they had to make a tough decision? So what quality or what do we have that we weren't able to answer that?
I think it's because we know what we want. Mm-hmm. And we haven't really reached a situation where we had to make a really big decision that would affect our relationship or the people around us as a total. But now that I think about it, I think one of the hardest decisions we had to make was when our siblings, like your siblings at one point, my siblings at one point, when they were all living with us, the hardest point was, okay, when do they move out? Or how
when we had to kick them out.
When we had to tell them, that, okay, you can't live with us anymore. For me, that was one of the hardest so far. But other than that, I don't think we've had a decision that we'd had to make na mahirap para sa atin.
Okay, to add on to Bonizi's point, I think the way we deal with difficult points or difficult choices, I think that has made it a lot easier for us. So example, we're faced with a decision to kick my siblings or her siblings out of our condo. We usually tend to take a step back and try not to dramatize it. Because I think the tendency, at least from my experience, my relatives, they tend to dramatize everything. Let's say there's a decision to pick a school for their child. One says, oh, Ateneo, or the other one, no, UP, or the other one, no, wag na siya mag-college. Every choice always has this dramatic and super emotional, aggressive undertone that's attached to each choice. And that makes it different. For Bonizi and I, we try to help ourselves and try to remain as objective as possible.
Pros and cons.
And really try to look at the pros and cons, the black and white. And of course, there's always a lot of gray matter for any decision and any choice. But kaya nga dalawa kami. So tag team yan.
Yeah.
So when it came to, for example, having to kick them out, we really looked at, okay, what will this benefit us? What will this benefit them? And as soon as we see that the benefits outweigh the disadvantages, then go na. We decide, and no regrets. Diba? Because when you have regrets, there's nothing you can do about that. Those are all in the past. The only way you can fix an actual regret is actually just to do better in the future situation. Yeah. So I think that's a mindset.
Learning experience siya lagi.
Yeah. So whatever hardships you have, even though whatever you do or whatever you choose parang medyo negative sa'yo, it's just another opportunity for you to learn. And then eventually, when you hit that point again, or you hit a choice like that again, you can deal with it better. So I think that mindset has helped us avoid having to name the hardest decision in our life together.
So now we move on to another topic and another question. When you first enter a relationship, lalo na kung first or boyfriend or girlfriend mo, you expect to do a lot of things together. So that would be doing maybe homework together, going to school together, probably going to the same places together. Now that we're married, do we have like rules per se that we have to do certain things together? I have one, the podcast.
Aside from the podcast.
Wala na. We don't have to do everything together.
Yeah, we talked about this in another podcast episode.
I know,
We're very independent people.
Yeah, we can eat at separate times of the day. It doesn't really matter to us. I think because dalawa lang tayo, it doesn't really matter. But of course, when we do start a family, then we'll have to set certain rules. Not for ourselves, but for discipline of the kids in the future.
We're moving on. A couple more questions left before we end this podcast. I think it is turning out to be a bit lengthy, but I like it.
Juicy also.
So, Bonizi, is there anything toxic about Fofo?
Do you have a toxic trait?
No, do you think I have a toxic trait?
I can't think of one. Wala. Happy ako.
I feel that way when Bonizi procrastinates, although it has gone down considerably, so I'm happy. So last two questions, crunch time here on Behind Relationship Goals.
What are the things that you hated about yourself, pero gusto ko pala? Like, it's a trait that I like pala about you.
So Bonizi and I are slowly getting back into the fitness game. So 2020, it was a bit more difficult to reach the level of fitness that we would like. Now we're really getting back into it. However, Bonizi seems to like my beef belly at the moment. So that's one thing that she seems to love that I'm trying to get rid of.
I like it. It's a different side of Fofo that I have never ever seen before. So I'm just enjoying it while it's still there.
Well, I enjoy teasing Bonizi's square butt.
I'm getting those glutes on, Fofo. Glute workouts for the win in 2021. Now everybody's going to look at my photos and see if I have a square butt. So last question of this very interesting podcast episode. What is our advice to couples that are just about to get married?
I guess the only piece of advice that I can really give is to be honest and communicate. It's as simple as that. And as simple as that may sound, it is extremely difficult and challenging to maintain consistency of that openness. But if you work on it, then I think there are many benefits to be had.
For me, it's enjoy every single moment that you have with your partner and see the beauty in the little things, because there are some small things that Mikael does for me that maybe if I wasn't paying too much attention, parang I wouldn't see na, ito pala yung love language na ni Mikael para sa akin. So,
like what?
Like you make coffee for me sometimes, and I really like that. It makes me so happy and kilig.
What else?
When you help me finish my to-do list, it makes me so kilig.
Malamang it makes you kilig kasi nababawasan yung trabaho mo. And on that bombshell, we get to the end of Behind Relationship Goals. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Fofo.
And I'm Bones, and this doesn't mean that it's the end of our podcast, just the podcast